It's 1966. America is obsessed with horsepower. Detroit is fighting a war of cubic inches, bigger engines, faster acceleration, and rear-wheel drive muscle car. But while everyone is looking toward the back wheels, Oldsmobile was about to do something that sounded completely backward. They took a massive 425 cubic inch V8, producing 385 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque, and sent all of that power to the front wheel, not the rear, the front, in 1966. And to make it work, Oldsmobile engineers created one of the strangest drivetrains ever installed in an American production car. A reversed automatic transmission, a chain drive, a compact differential, and a massive V8, all squeezed together underneath the hood of a luxury coupe. This was the Oldsmobile Toronado, and the crazy part isn't that it worked. The crazy part is how they made it work. To understand why the Toronado was so unusual, you have to remember what American cars looked like before it. For decades, the basic formula was almost universal. Engine in the front, transmission behind it, a drive shaft running underneath the passenger compartment, and a rear axle sending power to the rear wheel. Front-wheel drive wasn't completely unknown. Ford had used it in the 1930s. European manufacturers had continued developing it, and the little British Mini had already demonstrated how effectively front-wheel drive could package a small car. But American manufacturers had mostly moved on. Rear-wheel drive worked. It was familiar, it was relatively simple, and most importantly, American buyers weren't demanding something different until General Motors started asking a strange question. Could you build a large, powerful American car with front-wheel drive? The idea inside GM went back more than a decade. Engineers had been developing something called the unitized power package. The basic concept was simple. Instead of putting the engine and transmission in a long front-to-back arrangement, package them together in a much more compact layout. That sounds easy. It wasn't. Because the moment you put the drive wheels at the front, those wheels have to do two jobs at the same time. They have to steer the car, and they have to deliver the engine's torque to the road. That becomes especially difficult when your engine is producing hundreds of pound-feet of torque. And Oldsmobile wasn't planning to use a small engine. They wanted a V8, a big one. By the early 1960s, Oldsmobile engineers had a working concept, but they still had one enormous packaging problem. A conventional automatic transmission was too long. If you placed it behind the engine in the normal way, the entire powertrain would stretch too far forward. There simply wasn't enough room. So Oldsmobile did something that looks almost absurd when you see it. They turned the transmission arrangement sideways. The engine and transmission were positioned next to each other, rather than simply sitting in a conventional front-to-back line. But now there was another problem. The engine's output and the transmission's input were no longer lined up in the normal way. So how do you connect them? Oldsmobile's answer was a chain, not a small bicycle chain, a specially engineered, heavy-duty, silent chain. The chain connected the engine's torque converter and the transmission assembly, allowing the engineers to package the entire drivetrain into a much shorter space. And this wasn't some temporary prototype trick. It was part of the production car. The transmission itself was based on the turbo-hydramatic design, but heavily modified for its new job. Power eventually reached a compact differential and then traveled through half shafts to the front wheel, and that created another engineering challenge. The front wheels were now being asked to steer and accelerate a car weighing well over 2 tons, with 475 pound-feet of torque. That could easily make the steering wheel fight the driver. Engineers call that torque steer. Give a front-wheel drive car unequal drive shaft lengths, uneven suspension geometry, and a lot of torque, and the car can try to pull toward one side under acceleration. Oldsmobile had to engineer around it. The half shafts were designed with equal length. The drivetrain was carefully positioned within the chassis. The suspension geometry was heavily tuned, and Oldsmobile even added a hydraulic damper to the steering system to help control unwanted steering reactions. But there was another advantage. Without a drive shaft running through the center of the car, the floor could be much flatter. That gave Oldsmobile something unusual for such a large American coupe, a remarkably open interior. The Toronado could provide impressive passenger space without the traditional transmission tunnel dominating the floor. And then there was the styling. The Toronado didn't look like a conventional Oldsmobile. Designer David North had created a low, dramatic shape with hidden headlights, a wide grille, clean body sides, and a long, sleek profile. It looked futuristic. But underneath that futuristic body was something even more unusual. A giant V8 driving the front wheels. When the Toronado finally reached showrooms for 1966, the automotive press immediately paid attention. This wasn't just another big American coupe. It was a completely different engineering philosophy. The 425 V8 produced 385 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque. And yet, the Toronado wasn't designed to be a drag strip monster. It was a personal luxury car. It was supposed to be smooth, quiet, comfortable, and easy to drive. That's what made the drivetrains so impressive. Oldsmobile had taken an architecture that seemed more appropriate for a small European car and combined it with one of Detroit's favorite ingredients, a huge V8. They were compromised. The car was heavy. The front tires had to handle steering, braking, and driving forces. Early Toronados used drum brakes, although front disc brakes became available later. And despite all that horsepower, the Toronado wasn't necessarily faster than lighter rear-wheel drive performance cars. But speed wasn't the real point.